All right, so some of you guys have been hitting me up because you've been having some issues with the new MPC 3.4.2 update. And I know a lot of you guys think just because we have relationships with certain companies that we're never going to talk bad about what they're doing. And in this case, I'm not going to talk bad. I'm just going to talk about some issues that I have noticed as well. Now, even though we're still fairly new into these MPC 3 updates, even though it's 3.4.2, and of course, they really haven't fixed everything that we have all desired to be fixed, I'm still going to be rocking with it pretty much every day, even with the glitches that's already in it. And the reason why is I've been through this before with the version 2 updates. So this ain't nothing new. Now, we all know there's a whole bunch of small issues, but there was 3 issues that I encountered in my studio session last night, and it kind of slowed me down a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. But I made it out. Made it through, and everything worked out. Hopefully I'll make it on this particular album. I can't say who it is, but you know, hopefully I'll make it. But I ain't gonna lie, with these issues, it made me sweat a little bit, but I made it through. Now, addressing these issues is not to slight anybody who is developing any of these updates, none of the software developers or nobody over at Akai. But as you guys know, I got to speak my mind on this because this is very important, especially for somebody like me who works with professional artists. So let's go ahead and go over some of these key issues that I went through last night in my studio session. Now, some of these issues you guys may not be having. This was an issue that I had using my MPC Key 37 last night. So this might be a little different for everybody. And maybe on the next update, they can probably fix these. So let's go ahead and get to it.
Bolo!
So last night, I was at my mentor studio. One of my good friends, he hit me up. He was like, yo, come on through so we can make some beats for a particular artist. So I was already at my studio making beats, and his studio is only like maybe 10 minutes away from my studio. So I was like, of course, yeah, I'll be over there in 10 minutes. So when I got there, we ended up in the A room, and I ended up finishing the beat that I already got started, and I ended up making 3 more beats. And really the other 3 beats were the beats that just kind of got me warmed up for the actual session when the artist got in there. So after a while, the artist showed up and I proceeded to make more beats. And the cool thing about the situation is they never really seen anybody make a beat just standalone on an MPC before. They're actually really used to having a lot of people bringing their laptops in and making beats that way. So it's actually pretty cool showing the artist how I made beats on the MPC and how I get everything done in just a standalone unit. But while that was going on, like I said before, we had a few issues. Now, the number one issue that I had was the load times with the new MPC native instrument sounds. Now, even though these sounds are incredible, I like what they did with native instruments. On my MPC Key 37, some of these sounds were taking forever to load up. And at one point, it just seemed like the sound was not even going to load up at all. And I mean, it took like literally like a minute and a half just for the sound to pull up. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, please do not crash. Do not crash on me right now because I didn't turn the autosave on. And of course, you know, sometimes when we're making a beat, we don't really just save the beat. We just get started and we just forget to save. But eventually, all the sounds that I did use, they did pull up, but this was an issue. Now, with some of you guys, you're probably thinking, oh, well, you know, you need to save the sounds to your internal drive or you need to have a really good SD card, which in my case, I have one of the fastest SD cards on my MPC Key 37. So I'm pretty much covered on that end because I have a really fast SD card and you would think that it would have loaded up a little bit faster, but it didn't. Now, even though I didn't have any footage of me making the beat for the artist last night because, you know, you just can't be recording everybody, I'm gonna show you guys right here how long it takes for these sounds to load up. So let's check that out. Yeah, took a little bit of time there, especially for, somebody who's trying to make a beat on the spot for somebody. Going through those sounds, I would want them to be a little bit faster. I ain't gonna lie, because it kind of took me out my groove a little bit, but even though it was difficult, I stayed in the game. So, yeah, but it did take some time. Now, the second problem I had was trying to make a key group, and this is something that I've noticed on all of my MPCs from time to time, to where when I add a sample in a drum track and I want to make it in a key group, now instead of me pressing into the menu and then having to search for the track edit and then pressing on the key group, what you can do now is you can actually, in the drum program, double tap on the audio and it'll take you to the track edit, and then you can go ahead and create a key group that way from your individual sample. However, what I noticed is when I would double tap on it, it would not automatically open up into the track edit menu, and I'm sitting here tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping, and it would not work. Now, eventually, after me tapping and hoping that this thing is gonna open up, it did finally open up, and I went ahead and made a key group. But it looked kind of weird for a minute because I'm sitting here like, yo, why is this thing not working? And I'm just tapping on this thing and everybody's looking at me like, what's going on with your machine? But what I did notice is sometimes that screen is unresponsive. And it's been like that since this update because pretty much it's a new feature. We didn't have this feature before, but it seems like, 3.4.2, you would think that that would have been something that would have been resolved. However, my workaround for this was to not tap as hard. The thing about it is when I tapped too hard, it was not responding to the very hard taps that I was doing. What I had to do was lightly tap it, and then it took me into the screen. Now, it did not work every single time, but when I did a very light tap, it worked. Hard tap, light tap, I don't know. But when I tried to replicate everything on this particular video, everything seemed to be working fine. Seems like it has a mind of its own. But I got it to work. Somewhat. All right, and the last thing I had issues with was something that is minor in my sense because I'm not like a live performer or nothing like that. I just make beats in the studio. But I did have an issue with using my track mutes. So when I was making the beat, of course, I like to kind of sequence the beat, but I like to take sounds in and out while the beat is playing so I can kind of figure out how I really want to sequence everything. Now, what I have noticed since the MPC 3 update and all the other versions that's came out, now what I did notice is that when we're in track mute and we're pressing on the pads, or if we're pressing action on the screen, it's not very responsive. What I did notice is these pads are not as responsive as they were on the older version of the MPC. When I roll it back to the 2.15.1, I can press those buttons and that track will mute, press it, it'll unmute. Same thing with the screen. I can press it, it'll mute, press it, unmute. With this new version, you don't know what you're gonna get. You might press it, it might mute, might not mute, might double mute. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Now, this issue is not terrible for me, but I can see this being an issue for people who are doing live performances that are using the MPCs to control everything. Now, in my case, I can just go to the arranger and arrange everything out, or go into song mode and just mute out certain parts in each sequence. But for the guys that are going to be doing this thing live, man, this might be an issue. Might be a little issue. And hopefully this may be something that they can get resolved in the near future. Now, these are some of the issues that I had last night. I know about some of the other issues that you guys were saying because y'all leave them in the comments, or some of you guys actually email me some of the issues that you have, like long startup times and even some issues where the whole thing just crashed on you and restarted. Now, I did have that issue before, but that was actually in a older beta version that I had. But as of right now, I have not had any issues of my MPC shutting down or anything like that. Sometimes the start times can be a little bit long. I have noticed that, but it's not really too much of a major issue with me with that. I'm more concerned with me using the unit so I can go ahead and create my beats fast and efficiently, and I can get things done, especially while artist is there with me. Now, like I said before, am I gonna stop using my MPC? No. Of course not. This is what I love to use. I'm comfortable with it. I love the sound of it. Like, that's one thing that everybody kept saying last night. It was how big the sound was and how it just filled up the speakers and filled up the room. And now even some of the people that were with the artist was like, yo, I got to go ahead and get one, which you guys can go ahead and get one too. All you got to do is just click my link in the description and head over to zounds.com. They have a whole bunch of MPCs on there, and you can get the MPC 1 and the MPC Key 37 with no credit or background check, you know, and just pay it off over time with monthly installments if you guys want to go ahead and get one. So if you do, go ahead and click that link in the description. But with that being said, if you guys are having any issues with your MPCs, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. I want to see what you guys are going through. Or if you guys are not having any problems, let me know in the comment section. I want to know. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.